Hello, this is meteorologist Brad Winter from Region Weather Live, your YouTube source for weather across the Dakotas and Minnesota, with an update on the storm system that's going to be moving into our region Tuesday and in through Wednesday. We already have some winter storm watches and advisories out, so let's go on and take a look. So in this golden area right in through here, that is the winter storm watch. That is in effect from Tuesday 6 p.m. until Wednesday right around noon. Again, a winter storm watch remains in effect. Blizzard conditions possible within this gold area. Total snow accumulation somewhere around 1 to 5 inches. It's going to be very variable, variable depending on how this actually sets up. Winds could gust as high as 60 miles per hour. Now, this purplish area here in northwestern parts of South Dakota, that is a winter weather advisory in effect from noon on Tuesday until 6 a.m. on Wednesday. And they're just mentioning winter storm will impact the area, bringing heavy snow to portions of the northern Black Hills and foothills, along with much of northeastern Wyoming. Strong winds and snow will lead to slippery roads and reduced visibilities, causing travel difficulties. Snow is expected to taper off from northwest to southeast Tuesday evening and in through the night. And the remainder of these areas here in the white is basically just a special weather statement, just mentioning that there's going to be a cold front sweeping through that's going to be bringing some snow along with some gusty winds that could reduce visibilities and most likely will create some slippery road conditions and hazardous travel. All right, once again, utilizing the split screen with the precipitation over here on the left and the wind gusts over here on the right. And this is 6 a.m. Tuesday morning, so again, a little bit of rain beginning to work its way into southern portions of Minnesota. And we have this band that looks like it wants to develop into west central parts of North Dakota here by 6 a.m. already, bringing some snow and possibly even a little mix of rain by this point. Now over here on the wind side, you can see just a little bit of gust, 25 or so, possibly already creating a little bit of drifting snow with this. And by 9 a.m. that moisture continues to move northward and runs into some cold air here in through central portions of Minnesota, so that could create some spotty areas of freezing rain. Now with that, we also have some strong gusty winds out of the south, 30 to maybe even 40 miles per hour, and these winds here in the western Dakotas continue to pick up and will likely begin to create some hazardous travel conditions. And by noon, again, that moisture continues to push further northward, also continues to drive that warm air just a little bit further north, so the rain continues to push north and pushes that line of possibility with some freezing rain just a little bit further north along with it. Out in the western Dakotas, we continue to have probably some snow out in the west, and we continue to have some gusty winds out of the northwest. And again, probably gonna create just a little bit of problems out here in the western Dakotas as we get closer to that noon hour. 3 p.m. on Tuesday, that rain continues to move up here in the north. A little bit of freezing rain. We're probably going to start to see some cold air filter in and begin to change some of this over to snow by this point. Continue to see some strong southerly winds down here in south central, southeastern portions of Minnesota. And these northerly winds continue to push eastward, again, probably creating at least some areas of blowing and drifting. Now by 6 p.m. here on Tuesday evening, that's really when this starts to turn over to snow across the eastern Dakotas and western and northern portions of Minnesota. And again, we're watching this area of strong winds continue to push eastward. Note, we're starting to see them gust 40 to 50 miles per hour by this point out of the north. There isn't a whole lot of snow that has fallen through here at this point. I still think it looks like it's going to be creating some drifting snow across the roadways and creating slippery travel conditions. Now by 9 p.m., a little more snow starts to develop, starts to push back just a little bit into eastern portions of North Dakota. Again, those strong northerly winds, 40, 50 miles per hour, eventually gusting to 60 through the overnight hours. So perhaps by this point, by 9 p.m. on Tuesday, some of you areas right in through here, kind of in that triple point between the states of North Dakota, South Dakota, and Minnesota, between the snow and the wind, probably are going to see some very low visibilities. The roads are going to become slippery. So by 9 p.m., right around this area, kind of from Fargo to Aberdeen to Sisseton, Watertown, down to close to Sioux Falls, possibly including Detroit Lakes, Fergus Falls. Really be on the lookout at this point for that reduced visibilities and blizzard type conditions starting to settle in by this point already. All right, midnight, we continue to see snow here, and I think we're still going to just draw it back just a little bit further. I think we'll probably still see at least some flurries here, even though you might not quite see it here on this particular map. We continue to see some very strong northerly winds through the valley and pushing into the James River Valley portion of South Dakota. Again, by this point, we're looking at gusts of 50, maybe even pushing 60 miles per hour. So for those of you, again, kind of in this region by this point, again, right around midnight, Tuesday night, early Wednesday morning, just be on the lookout for the possibility, at least, of some blizzard conditions. Now also note, by midnight, that snow hasn't transitioned over to rain across eastern portions of Minnesota. You're still sitting in the rain here by this point around midnight. Finally, by 3 a.m., pretty much everybody will transition over to snow here. That strong northerly winds continue to push south and eastward here, so that hazardous travel area will probably begin to stretch just a little bit down to the south and east by this point, by 3 a.m. Wednesday morning. And again, like I mentioned in last night's video, notice you guys up here in the far northeastern parts of Minnesota here, that rain really hasn't quite completely changed over to snow. You don't have a lot of wind yet, so again, even by 3 a.m., you guys up there in the far areas of the Arrowhead, kind of in that Grand Portage area, the winter portion of this storm really hasn't hit you quite yet. Now, also notice a little bit further back to the west, we continue to have some gusty north-northwest winds that'll probably at least create some drifting snow in through here. That alone could reduce visibilities, but very likely will also create some slippery road conditions through the overnight hours, Tuesday night into early Wednesday morning. Now by 6 a.m., note the snow begins to move off to the north and east along with that storm system. So while some of you have just transitioned over to rain here in the far east, you're already on the backside of this snow as it continues to move off to the north and east. So for those of you out in the eastern portions of the state, you're probably not going to see a whole lot in the way of accumulating snow. Now, with that said, we do have those strong winds that do work in across the remainder of the state, those north-northwesterly winds. Even if you get a little light dusting of snow, just because those winds are going to be so strong, it's very likely going to be blowing it around, reducing visibilities, and making those roadways slippery. So even though we're not really expecting a ton of snow out of this system, just because there is snow and a whole lot of wind associated with it, many areas are still going to be impacted just because of the reduced visibilities and that snow blowing across the roads and sticking to the roads and making them slippery. So once you wake up Wednesday morning, many of you areas are probably going to see some roads that aren't very favorable. And obviously some of you are going to be worse off than others, but just keep that in mind as you start your travel day if you have somewhere to go Wednesday morning. Now by 9 a.m., that snow continues to push off to the north and east and dissipate out here further off to the west. However, those gusty winds continue to hang on 30 to possibly 40 miles per hour. Again, continuing to create some blowing and drifting snow. Finally, around the noon hour, again, that snow continues to push off to the north and east, and even the winds begin to die off for most of you. Perhaps just a little bit up here in the northern parts off the north shore of Lake Superior. Perhaps your winter conditions, you're going to start a little later, so it looks like you're going to hang on to the winter type conditions just a little bit later as well. And also note we have this high pressure that begins to settle in to the west. The winds begin to die off. So by noontime, pretty much everybody across most of the Dakotas should be sitting pretty good. As far as the winds go, we just got to let those roads probably clear off throughout the afternoon. And here we are, 6 p.m. Wednesday evening. And again, most of the winds now have pretty much died off. The snow is gone. That high pressure continues to build in, very likely clearing out some of the clouds here. So probably much of you across the Dakotas will begin to see clear skies, at least by the evening hours. All right, so here is my revised snowfall forecast for those of you up here in the north and east from Bemidji up northeastward from there. That's probably where we're going to have the best chance for seeing some accumulating snow. We're going to be in that 4 to 6 range, it still looks like. For those in the yellow in through here, we're looking at kind of in that 2 to 4 range. In that blue area right in through here, we're looking somewhere in that 1 to 3. And now note, also we have these areas out into western portions of the Dakotas where we're looking at 1 to 3, maybe some 2 to 4, and even a sliver, perhaps, of some 4 to 6 moving into parts of western North Dakota. That's a bit of a tricky one, but I figured I'd better put it in there just because there is that potential in through there. Along with some of the higher elevations up here at the Black Hills where we're looking again around that 4 to 6 inches. The blowing snow chances could very well be anywhere you see some sort of color in through here, just because a little bit of snow and some stronger winds that are expected are very likely going to be create at least some drifting snow and some slippery travel conditions. But in particular for those in these circles out in through here, those have the best chances for at least seeing some blowing snow, which could also reduce visibilities, probably have the higher chances of also making those roadways slippery. So again, a couple of larger areas in through there, a lot of wind associated with this. Like I said, not a whole ton of snow, just a lot of wind associated with it. So that's where we're concerned about the reduced visibilities and the slippery roads. And here again in the red, again, that's the best chance for seeing the possibility at least of some blizzard type conditions. So near zero or zero visibility anywhere within the circle. So again, we're kind of looking just kind of outside Grand Forks and Bemidji, but we're looking at Detroit Lakes, Ada, Borup, Fargo, Alexandria, Fergus Falls, Sisseton, Watertown, just kind of coming close to Sioux Falls there. So that's the latest in the forecast. Not a whole lot has changed, but it's just I want to expand kind of that area, that outlook area, because of the winds that are going to be experiencing across the region. And just it looks like a good chunk of the area is probably going to see at least some problems. Some are going to be worse than others, obviously, in those circled areas that I've outlined. So keep that in mind as we go Tuesday night and into Wednesday morning. I will try to have a live update or a live feed going later in the day Tuesday. So Tuesday evening, I'll have some radars going, and we'll just kind of keep an eye on the visibilities and the road conditions and see how things develop. And then perhaps as well, early Wednesday morning, I'll have it up again. So make sure you subscribe down below, hit the bell button as well, so that you do see when I'm going to be on live, when I've got the radars up and everything else going at the same time, the cameras and the road conditions as well. That way you're alerted when I'll be on live. And you also know when I've uploaded a video just like this. Also, hit the thumbs up button down below. Hit the like button. I would sure appreciate that. If you care to, please join the channel. Become a member. Would love to have you. Put your name at the end of the video, just like a couple other people that you're going to see here in just a short moment. I'll put your name on there. If you just become a member, hit the join button. All right, everybody, for Region Weather Live, I'm meteorologist Brad Warner. Everybody stay safe over the next couple of days and try to have a good day.